In this video, I want to explore another question that I receive very often, a really important one, a crucial one. How do I not take on people's pain and suffering? I have another video, you may have seen it, if not I can link to it and I'd recommend it, that explores the idea of how the question, in response to the question that people ask, how do I not take on people's negative energies or emotions? So this is a kind of a variation on that topic, but it's a little more specific. It's very specific to people who, someone shares pain with you. Someone shares a sad story, some form of brokenness or some hurt that they're going through, and you feel guilty for their pain even though you didn't do anything wrong, or you feel responsible for somehow fixing their pain even though it's their pain and not yours. So this is related, but a bit of a twist, a variation on that same basic theme. And in that video I talk about how approaching the topic as protection is a mistake and how we can approach it instead as empowerment. And that when we focus on the topic as how do I protect myself from other people's stuff, then we're giving other people's stuff the priority. And then we're making ourselves sort of reactive or at the mercy of other people's stuff. And in the same way, in this video, if we're exploring the topic of how do I not take on someone's pain, the impulse there, the question that's behind the question, or the feeling that's behind that question, is, I think, very accurate. But the way the question is being framed is leading us, I think, subtly in the wrong direction. It's deflecting us from where I think we really want to be putting our attention. So if we ask the question as, how do I not take on someone's pain? Again, I think we're ceding, we're kind of abdicating the authority and the primacy to someone else's pain. And instead, I suggest that the question we really want to be asking is, how do I maintain my sense of wholeness when in the face of someone who's suffering? How do I maintain my wholeness in the presence, in the face of someone who's suffering, to whatever degree they're suffering? And suffering can be immense, and it can be multi-layered, and it can be emotional, and it can be physical, and it can be spiritual, it can be all of the above, it can be some of the above. But on whatever level a person is pained and is suffering, when you are in the presence of such pain and such suffering, how do you maintain a sense of your own fundamental wholeness? And when the question is asked that way, then we're putting the emphasis on what you can take responsibility and, in the best sense, authority and power around. Asking the question that way is really keeping the question focused as how do you stay in your own space while being attentive, while being compassionate, while being present, while being there for someone who's suffering. A very simple practice, a very powerful one, is to say the magic words, I am sorry for your pain. It's not said in any kind of cheap way. It's not a kind of like, I'm sorry for your pain. It's not a dismissive move. It's actually a very heartfelt, clear, strong, boundaried, healthy, kind of energetic, boundaried way of being with someone who's suffering. On some spiritual level, I do believe that we're all one, or we're all united, or we're all non-separate and interwoven with each other. But on a soul level, and even on a human level, I think it's very important to acknowledge relative difference, differentiation, and distinction. In other words, I'm me and you're you, and they are whoever they are. And if they are suffering and they are sharing their suffering with you, it is incumbent upon you to remind both yourself and the other individual that the pain is theirs and not yours. And a very simple statement of, I am sorry for your pain to someone is how you indicate that. Period, end of sentence. No, how can I help you? Oh my God, that's so horrible. How will you ever get through it? Oh my God, I feel so horrible for you. And then the person feels like they're some kind of broken doll, and they just want somebody to hear them, and they just want somebody to say, I hear you, and that really sucks, and I'm really sorry, I really am. And they just say thanks. If they want some assistance, if they want some guidance, and you're the kind of person who might have some intelligent guidance to give, or know somebody who would, then it's incumbent upon them to ask, like, what would you do if you were in my situation and you had this problem? Okay, well, if I were in your shoes, maybe I'd think about doing A, B, or C. And then they can go, okay, well, yeah, those are some interesting ideas, or I like that one, I don't like this one. But they've asked for your opinion. You don't offer your opinion until they have asked. You'll also notice in certain cases where a person is trying to offload, they are trying to outsource their responsibility for their own pain onto you. They're trying to get free therapy out of you, basically, hoping that you'll just take, let me just take this giant anchor and weight that's holding me down, and can I just hand that over to you? And you take and go, oh, I feel so horrible for you, let me take that for you. And then now you've got that hanging on your shoulder. No. If you say the magic words, someone shares their pain, and you say to them, I'm sorry for your pain, period, end of sentence, and just let it hang in the air, then you'll interestingly notice if a person says, well, aren't you going to do something about that? Or you'll find that they're kind of thrown off center. They're not quite sure what to do because they're so used to a world where people will be guilted into doing things for them, or will feel contractually obligated somehow, like I shared my pain, so you owe me this thing. I don't owe anyone anything. If they shared me their pain and I've heard it, and I say, and I've acknowledged it, and I fundamentally feel empathy and compassion for their being, that's it. If they want to ask more, they're free to ask more, and I'm free to say yes or no, depending on whether I'm any good at helping them, whether the means of helping them would actually be assisting and empowering versus disempowering, or maybe I'm not the right person, or I just got stuff going on, and like, I'm sorry, I got to go do my thing. We're allowed to say no. Other times you will notice when you use these magic words of I'm sorry for your pain, you will notice, and these are really beautiful moments, you will notice when a person is just very grateful that someone has listened to them and not treated them like a broken doll. It's very rare in this world that anyone feels that they've ever actually been listened to, and it's even rarer to feel that they have been listened to and fundamentally seen as a whole being, even though they also have fragmentation and brokenness like we all do. They've not been treated like a broken doll. You've heard them, you've heard their pain, and you've acknowledged it and affirmed it and said you're really sorry they're going through that. And then they feel lighter, and you have not taken anything on, and they felt lighter. Those are beautiful moments. So rather than asking again the question of how do I not take on somebody's pain, ask the question of how you may maintain your wholeness in the presence of pain, and a practice to do that is to say, I am sorry for your pain.